Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I want to address the Gregg Wallace story. If you want to find out what I think, just push the subscribe button and then do please leave your questions and your comments. I've interviewed Gregg Wallace on the radio a few times. I've also met him in person a few times. I've never worked on any of his shows. I've never been a guest on any of them. So I have never personally experienced or seen him behave in the way that it's alleged that he's been behaving by the 13, at least, women primarily who've complained about his behavior. So I haven't seen it happen myself. A very dear and close friend and associate of mine, though, was in a lift with him at the BBC. This friend of mine was bringing him to participate in a program on the BBC. They walked into the lift. My friend did not know Gregg Wallace, had never met him before. And in the lift was a young girl who worked on another show. So the three of them were going up in the lift together. And completely unprompted, Gregg Wallace described a sex act that he had performed on his then wife that morning. So my friend had not met Gregg Wallace before, hadn't asked him about his sex life, was simply taking him to participate in a BBC program. And the young lady in the lift was just an innocent passenger. So this is something that a very close friend and associate of mine told me about at the time. What did anyone do about it? Of course, absolutely nothing. What you might not have experienced if you've never been a guest on a television program is the absolute power that can be exercised by the star of the show. So the star is the big name, usually the presenter, the name over the door, essentially the person to whom everyone is kowtowing. Now, the star of any show very much creates the atmosphere, both behind the scenes and on screen. And if the star is a nice, genial, charming, friendly, nice kind of person, then the atmosphere is friendly, charming, nice, and just kind of a congenial place where you're happy to work. If the star is temperamental and difficult, everyone's edgy, everyone's nervous, everyone is kind of on the back foot, just hoping that the star isn't going to be offended or upset or lose their temper or something like that. If the star is sexually inappropriate and creates an atmosphere in which he intimidates people, embarrasses people, humiliates people, creates a climate of inappropriate sexual innuendo, inappropriate sexual conversation, inappropriate sexual gestures, comes out of the dressing room wearing almost nothing, everyone's a bit horrified, then that's an atmosphere that most people pick up on if they're guests on the show very, very quickly. The thing is, though, that when you're a guest on a show, you're in a very sort of suppliant position. You are way down the food chain. You're just one of any number of disposable guests. You know, they had 10 guests the week before, they'll have 10 guests the week after. You're just an other guest. So because you're in such a kind of inferior position, the presenter or the star is in such a superior position, it's very unlikely that you're going to rock the boat or make a fuss or make a complaint. If the star and the presenter says something that you think is insulting, offensive, oppressive, sexually inappropriate, threatening, humiliating, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to call the star out on it because A, you look like you're a troublemaker. B, you look as if you somehow don't get the joke. You're so uncool. You're such a kind of stick in the mud. You're so, I don't know, pompous. You're so, I don't know, self-obsessed that you just can't laugh along with the general humor. And you don't want to stick out as somebody who is a party pooper on somebody else's show that you're just a guest on. So the position is very, very difficult. And I've been several times in the position where I've been on a show. It wasn't Gregg Wallace. I must admit, nothing to do with Gregg Wallace at all. But I've been on a couple of shows, in fact, where I've been made deeply uncomfortable by what passes for a joke. But you know that if you don't at least pretend to laugh along, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. You're never going to get asked back. And it could be a blot on your copybook forever. You know, you could be labeled, oh God, that Vanessa, she's so po-faced. She doesn't laugh. She doesn't seem to have any sense of humor. You know, we were only joshing. It was only bants. Why the hell didn't she laugh? So you laugh. And that's what most of the very distinguished female broadcasters, Kirsty Walk, Azma Mir, all the different women, Emma Kennedy, who've complained about Gregg Wallace, have said, why didn't they? Most of them, some of them did, but most of them didn't raise it at the time. Kirsty Allsop didn't say a word. Why not? Because you don't want to be labeled as the prude that said something. What I think is very interesting about the Gregg Wallace story is this, and we have to note that he denies all allegations, and so do his lawyers. But what I think is this: in the past, some very bolshy folk have been exposed as saying some pretty horrible things. And what do these bolshy, chippy blokes, let's be honest, it's always men, what do these bolshy, chippy men do when they're accused of having said a whole volley of really offensive things that have upset people and distressed them, humiliated them, embarrassed them, caused them discomfort, all that kind of thing? What do? They don't do what they should do, which is just come out and say, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I certainly have never meant to upset anyone. I feel dreadful that I have. I definitely didn't mean to. I didn't realize that anything I was saying was offensive. If I had, I wouldn't have said it. And I'm so sorry. And I'm really going to do whatever I can to make amends. I'm sending everybody flowers. I'm writing personal letters of apology. I'm sending everyone a basket of fruit. I'll do whatever I have to do to show I'm very sorry, because that's very easy to do, isn't it? But what these bolshy, chippy characters do, and I've seen it done in the past on quite a few occasions, they double down. So they don't say sorry, they do the opposite. And in Gregg Wallace's case, we can all see very clearly what he's done. He's saying it is a cohort of middle-aged, middle-class women who have complained, and everybody else is fine with it. In so doing, he insults basically everybody. He insults working class women because he implies that working class women would be absolutely delighted to endure a volley of inappropriate sexual banter and a whole load of behavior that is sexually threatening and inappropriate. He also insults young women because he implies that young women would be really cool with a man behaving in the way he's been accused of having behaved. He insults middle-aged women. He insults middle-class women. He insults everybody, really. And he labels working class men of a certain age as kind of, unfiltered, unbridled, disrespectful, inappropriate. Why would you double down like that? Why wouldn't you just say sorry? Isn't it very, very simple? If you've upset someone, whether you meant to or not, whether you did it on purpose or not, why aren't you sorry? They're upset because of you. Be sorry. That's the right thing to be. Say you're sorry. Say it nicely. Don't double down and don't blame anyone but yourself. I definitely think that there's a great magnetism, a kind of magnetic draw between a certain kind of narcissistic personality and TV and radio. There really does seem to be. There seems to be a kind of other side to the showing off side, which is a kind of power play, a kind of wish to, pulverize everybody else, put your stamp on things, be cock of the walk. And I use the phrase cock of the walk on purpose. I know what it means. And that is what is going on. It's a particular character type, a personality type. What I don't get is this, though, and I've never understood this. If you're the star of the show, you're the star. You're the highest paid person in the room. You're valuable to everybody there. You are very, very well known, celebrated, your name over the door. If you want chopped pineapple for lunch, someone will go and chop your pineapple for you. If you have to have 7 lattes with a caramel squirt, they will get you 7 lattes with a caramel squirt. I once personally, this is me, it really happened to me, signed up to present a show. I'm not going to say which one it was. And I was offered, and I quote, anything you want, Vanessa, drugs, sex, anything you want. And I was so pathetic. I said, could I have someone to do the ironing? I kind of quite regret that now. But what I'm saying is, if you are the star of the show, you have the power. It's quite clear. Why would you want to abuse it by being nasty? Why would you want to make people feel uncomfortable and upset and humiliated, embarrassed and shamed? Why would you want to do that? You've already got your name over the door. People are already doing all they can to make you happy. So why not just enjoy it? Why do you have to go that extra mile and make the working place so toxic? This is what I never do understand. Thanks for watching my YouTube channel. This is my response to the Gregg Wallace story. Do push the subscribe button, leave your questions and your comments with pleasure.